thought we'd bring in Coach Carlson, as your sons were sharing some stories, so we don't want to leave you out of the conversation, Tim. But first, what was it like to see your two sons go through the program and be such productive players and people on and off the field?
Yeah, well, proud is the first word that comes to my mind, but, being here for over 32 years, these guys would come over with me every summer. We'd bring like a box of markers and coloring books, and they'd color in the corner while we ran workouts and so on. So it's always just been a part of who they are growing up. I don't think they knew any other way, and I think Joe kind of alluded to that. But it's just been fun to watch them grow in the program, be leaders within the program, both elected captains by their peers. And as a dad, as a coach, I've always said in all sports that maybe the hardest position to play is coach's son at any level. And they handled it well, and you can tell that by the fact that they were elected as captains by their peers. Then they were respected in how they handled themselves. And as a dad, obviously that makes you really proud. And I think they've taken these lessons that football has taught them, not just at Jefferson, but beyond that in college, and applied it to their lives. And I can't be any more proud as a dad.
What do you remember, Coach, about that dynamic of trying to coach your sons, a whole team of players that aren't your sons? What are some of the challenges in that dynamic to make sure that everything, team-wise is still cohesive?
Yeah, I think one of the big things you do as a head coach, one of the most important things you do is hire a good staff. Obviously, Stan did that when he hired me. But, you hire good people. And as the boys alluded to, they wanted nothing to do with defense. So I just kind of tried to be hands-off as much as I could, because they do would get me at home and on the weekends, and, just try and be hands-off, turn it over to your coaches, and our coaches have done a great job. I've loved our staff throughout the years, and John, his senior year, all of a sudden he wanted to play safety and try and pick up off balls. I think he even got one tackle in about 9 games. But other than that, I just kind of turned it over to our assistant coaches and let them teach.
What do you remember about that 2014 season that John talked about, where you led the Jaguars to that state tournament for the first time since '94?
There's a lot of memories from that group. They were a goofy bunch of seniors. It was the goof. I mean, they're good football players, and they had their different way of doing things. And as a coach, especially a coach that is more of a type A, I had to learn to kind of let them go a little bit. But it was a fun ride. I think one of the things I remember the most is based off on our Facebook site and emails, and we just started to plaster the wall with emails and well wishes from alumni, community members. So as when you walk into the locker room, here's all these notes from people, and to see what it meant to other people, I thought was really, really cool. And that's there's the football side of it, but I think the big picture side of it, I think that's what stands out to me the most.
Any stories about your dad that you want to share off the field, or maybe some memorable post games, or kind of family gatherings after maybe some big wins?
I do remember growing up, and even after in college, coming home on Friday nights, and after a couple games during the season, we would have the coaches and their families over, just to hang out for a little bit. So I always remember the coaches over at our house, and like it's kind of been alluded to, like that to see the staff kind of all obviously get along together, but it seems like they're such great friends off the field as well, and getting to know them that way too, outside of just being my football coach. I've gotten to know a lot of them, and it's been really cool.
Yeah, well, I have one memory of when we were at Lakeville South. I think it was Lakeville South's second year, and we were going to throw a Hail Mary. And it was a year that we only lost one regular season game. And there's a great video of it when you throw a Hail Mary. Augie, Jake Dahman catches it in the end zone. Joe was a ball boy, and he had a couple of his buddies, and you can see them in the film. Joe's got his towel, and he's running, just this little guy running around waving his towel. It's really cool, and John would veer off. John had social aspects of being a ball boy, and all of a sudden there's no football around, and we're looking for a football because he's getting hot dogs and talking to girls or whatever he's doing. But it's just been, we're so appreciative of the school and Stan getting us started in this. Stan called me on the day I quit a job and asked me if I wanted to get into coaching. And 34 years later, 35 years later now, still going, and it's affected not only my life but obviously the life of everybody in my family's life.
I think one of the big stories of Jefferson football are the coaches and the head coaches that have been around the program for so long. Growing up, you knew Coach Shea, Coach Levy, obviously your dad, and all those same people are still involved and around the program, and now you guys have been graduated for a decade plus. So what is it about these Jaguar coaches that just stick around and continue to make such a big imprint on people's lives?
I think it's probably a couple reasons. One is this place and how much being here as a student, as a coach, as a player, how much it means, to put on that shield and the blue and go and play and coach. But it also probably speaks a lot to, how much these coaches care for the kids that come through here as football players, but obviously more importantly, like as people. They're developing these young kids to prepare for college and whatever's going to come after high school, and their love for that more than anything, I think, has driven this program.
Yeah, I think just the relationships, kind of like Joe said, that are built here, outside of football. He talked about, the Friday night where the coaches and their wives and girlfriends, whoever, would come over to our house, and just to see them interact with each other outside of football and see how they're truly friends and get along with one another and have personal relationships is something that, you don't want to walk away from when you can find something that strong and that, means that much to you. And I think that for that reason, people, want to stick around and come back to the program just to see kind of that next generation or the next kind of people go through that same thing that they've been through, and just kind of continue that tradition moving forward.
And one thing that's been kind of alluded to, and I think we'd be wrong without pointing it out, is the impact of the wives and the mothers. I couldn't have done what I did without my wife Kelly, who, and to be honest, John would go to her to say, tell Dad I need more fades, and then she would come to me and say, you got to throw the ball to Johnny more. And she learns so much from Judy Shea, and it's not easy to be in the stands, and believe it or not everything is pleasant that's said about the head coaches in the stands, so they have to have a different temperament. And again, I couldn't have done it, and I know Margie Waldner and Judy Shea and Michelle Leverance and now Wendy Bachman. It takes a special person to be a coach's wife, and we appreciate what they do.